Hey guys, and welcome to PT Live, where we are educating you about the PT community and what physical therapy really consists of. So today I have another amazing guest, Dr. Jeremy Sutton. I'm coming out of Vivian, Louisiana. He is owner of his own private practice, Vivian Physical Therapy. He is also creator and owner of a podcast called The Servant PT. He has been a PT for about 8 years, mostly in the outpatient orthopedic setting. He is in the rural North Louisiana region where he treats people through a servant leader's mindset. Makes sense because his podcast is called Servant PT. But he helps his patients with returning to back to living a normal life in a way where they can enjoy mobility, restoring hope, and ultimately restoring their life. So Jeremy Sutton, welcome to this episode.
Hey, Felicia, thanks for having me.
It's my absolute pleasure. Okay, now thinking about the PT profession, you've been in the game for 8 years. Now you transitioned into being an owner. Tell us, how long have you been an owner of your practice?
A little over a year now.
A little over a year. Okay, and what was the main reason that you wanted to transition into that ownership?
Well, I had a job at an outpatient clinic. I'd been there about 4 years. I just really wasn't happy with just the way I was treating people. I mean, I guess my treating was fine, but just really wasn't happy with being a part of a big corporation anymore. And just got the opportunity to buy my clinic, and felt like that's what God wanted me to do with my life. And so my wife and I talked about it. We took the chance, and here we are.
Absolutely. It's very honorable of you. A lot of people do prefer the private practice setting because they're able to have that close interaction with their patients to really help them with their plan of care. So thinking about physical therapy, you mentioned before, but what is your specialty and what led you to that?
Okay, so I went to the University of St. Augustine in Florida, and you know it's a very manual therapy laden practice and education. And so really when I first got out of PT school, I spent a lot of time with hands-on practice with that. But really outpatient orthopedics has been really my love for a long time. And that's what I've spent the majority of my career doing since graduating in 2009.
Okay, nice. Now, the 8 years that you've been practicing, have there ever been a situation where you had to educate a patient about what physical therapy consists of, and how did that work out?
Sure, absolutely. All the time. Really happened today. Actually, I evaluated a new patient who had a rotator cuff repair, and always you can kind of see in people's eyes when they're nervous about coming to you. And I always ask people, have you ever been to physical therapy before? And this person said, no, never. And so I just said, hey, go ahead and relax. We're not going to do anything bad today. I'm just going to evaluate you. We're going to check out your range of motion, and we'll really just go at your own pace.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what I do with my patients. And now when people ask me what physical therapy is, I say we treat people with injuries either due to sports or other issues, or people who have lost mobility, range of motion due to injuries, strokes, whatever it may be, that can't live life the way they want to. And we help by restoring mobility, strength, and range of motion to get them back to living life the way they want to live.
Yeah, that's powerful. That education component of letting patients know, or just a general population, of what physical therapy can encompass. It's a wide range. So that's powerful that you're able to do that. Even on the first visit, that's even more powerful. Now, thinking about the physical therapy profession, the 8 years you've been in it, and actually you started a little bit earlier as a PT tech when you were, age 19? Is that correct? So
Yeah.
through those years of being in the profession as a PT tech, were there some things that you discovered that were kind of new to you throughout those years?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started as a PT tech when I was 19. I was a sophomore in college, and I'll be 36 next week. So I've done it for forever now. And I went in to actually ask if I could observe a PT that had treated me as a high school student. And she was doing wound care at the time on somebody's foot. And I kind of said, hey, what are you doing? And she said, oh, we do wound care. And I said, well, I have no idea that PTs do that. And so that was really an eye-opening experience. It was something I enjoyed doing when I, or witnessing when I was a tech. I didn't get to do it. I haven't done a lot since I've been out of school. And then, lately with the emergence of telehealth, I didn't really know. I guess I was kind of under a rock for a little while that's a big thing. And that's a huge deal that we'll be able to treat people over the internet and communicate like you and I are doing tonight.
Absolutely. Telehealth is pretty powerful. I love telehealth or telecommunication. So to do
Yeah.
that with patients is going to be an added benefit. Now, talking about wound care, for our audience who may not know what that consists of, what is wound care?
So wound care is when someone has a wound, or a common one would be an ulcer or whatever, where someone had been laying, let's say, laying in a bed at home or in the hospital, and one of their bones is pushing on the skin, and they just have a skin breakdown or a skin tear that has come up. And what therapists do is they go in and we assess the wound, and we stage it, and then they pick the appropriate dressing and maybe the medication, and then just make sure that that wound is healing. And it can also be from surgical wounds. I have a person right now who fell on a chainsaw, and so that's a pretty big wound. But that's kind of what wound care encompasses, and basically just making sure that that wound continues to heal appropriately.
Okay. Yeah. I know that's new to some people that I informed at our PT practice. We took a wound care class last semester in our course, and it was even surprising to me. Like, even us doing debridement, cleaning out areas that have wounds, we did it on an orange. We didn't get to use a
Hmm.
human, but things like that, it surprised me. So absolutely, wound care is one of those components.
Yeah.
Now, thinking about the PT profession, like, where do you see it going in the future, or even some things that you're currently seeing presently that is changing within the profession?
Right. Well, one thing personally that I'm doing a lot of right now is Facebook videos, and trying to get into Facebook groups where I have, patients with knee diagnosis or back diagnosis or whatever it may be, support groups, maybe possibly even paid groups where we can give advice on things that
Mhm.
people need, and even do exercise programs. But, I think with, like we talked about with telehealth, there's going to be, we know that within, maybe by the end of the year, maybe next year, it's going to be probably all over the country, should be, and we'll be able to communicate with our patients just like you and I are communicating. I think that a lot of PTs are starting to do podcasts and YouTube videos and things like that. And I think you and I know about 10 or 15 people that have started podcasts in the last year. And then, cash-based PT is becoming a big thing with low reimbursement from insurance companies and things like that. So people are just really branching out and diversifying in our profession. And I think it's really cool because no matter what you do, like I have an in-network practice where I accept insurance, and I do some cash things as well. But no matter what you do, is if you're willing to change and kind of evolve a little bit, our profession will still have a place for us in years to come, no matter how the medical field evolves.
Absolutely. Our profession is very diverse in the various things that you stated, from us having on the media wise, the podcasts, the YouTubes, those different avenues, and even in the space of health and wellness, as you said, with exercise. That's the component that the PT profession can get into. Once again, not confuse it with physical therapy, but absolutely help to be an asset towards that community in the exercise profession. Now,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Now, to you, what does PT personally mean to you?
Oh gosh, PT to me is just, I get to live out my mission for my life, which is servant leadership. And we've talked about this multiple times. That's my kind of my platform, is servant leadership, and that hasn't always been the case, but really in the last 3 to 4 years it has. And I've been doing this for 17 years in some way, shape, or form, and I've just really enjoyed getting to know people and just forming relationships. And it's just really cool to get to see that we are not the most important person on the earth. We're not the hero of the story. Our patients are the heroes of the story,
Yeah.
and we should treat them as such. And just today I looked up for my clinic, and there was 5 ladies in my waiting room just chatting and laughing and having a good time. And then the lady that I was currently treating was like, "Oh, what are they doing?" And then she was having an emotional time, and she kind of broke down and cried today. And I got to, hold her, hug her, tell her it's going to be okay. And those are things that I wouldn't have got to experience had I not become a physical therapist. And there was definitely times in my life where I didn't know if I wanted to be a PT, even when I was in school. And so it's really just, it means the world to me. And I have no doubt in my mind this is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I absolutely commend you for that component of connecting with the patients. Of course, they have physical disabilities going on with them, but they're a human being with emotions. So, of course,
Right.
they are going to have some days that it's bad and they're just going to cry. I've had moments where patients cried in front of me as a PT tech, but me being the human that I am and realizing that they were in pain, I helped just to talk them through whatever situation that was going on with them. But that's pretty powerful. I commend you for that. You really are a servant leader, hence your podcast, Servant Leadership. Plug. Check out his podcast, by the way. But and also I'm going to provide his information, all his information, his social media outlets, and his podcast, because you need to check it out. Like, go subscribe, because it's one of my top ones. But do you have any other takeaways that you want to share in general about the PT community, or just any additional things you want to share?
Sure. One of my favorite things is look out for the interest of others. Look out not only for your own interests, but the interest of others. And that's really how I try to live my life and my profession. But, you said something that I want to kind of touch on a little bit. We treat physical problems, but people come into our clinics and into our lives with spiritual, emotional, physical, mental problems, whatever it is. You have the opportunity to affect someone every time, every interaction you have with somebody, you're affecting them, whether it's good or bad. And so we need to choose to affect them in a good way and not a bad way. And, I'm all for research-based practice, and I do my very best to stay up with it and do that. But sometimes we just need to treat the person and not the diagnosis. So just remember that. And,
say that again.
Hopefully everybody's doing that. So
that is so true. Treat the person, not the diagnosis. I get it. We get a script and we see what's going on with them, but it's so much more than just the paper. As right. They're teaching us in class when we're doing evals, we shouldn't just be glued to our laptop or writing notes, but we should actually listen to what our patients are saying and how they're saying it. So
look at them when they're speaking to you.
Exactly. As simple as that, but it makes them feel connected even more, that you actually care. Right. You epitomize servant leadership, as your podcast calls it. But I know, hey, give yourself credit. But thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much. The PT community absolutely appreciates it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again to another episode of PT Live, and we'll catch you on the next one. I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did. Please go ahead and share your comments below. We always love to hear what you guys are thinking about. And you never know, we just may feature your comment on our very next episode of PT Live. And feel free to ask us some questions that you may have about the profession that we can answer for you as well. Thank you so much once again for watching PT Live, where we are educating you about what the physical therapy or physiotherapy consists of.